coughed right down the magnet.
Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show, Euro 2020. This is episode number 12. It is squeaky bum time for the English and the Danish. And me and Andy have already had an argument and it's 7:05, so it's going to be a very, very interesting show. But I'm looking forward to it. Look, a good debate. But the show is live, as always, on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. A.C.E Podcast Nation, of course, your home to many a great show and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So do give us a follow on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications, and of course, spread the word. But most of all, if you prefer your podcast in audio form, search A.C.E Podcast Nation. You'll find us at the moment on every single podcast network out there, or podcast platform out there. Nearly gave something away then. Whoops. But soon to be just sort of changing a little bit, but nothing to worry about, only to be excited about. More news to follow. As ever, a big thank you to Black Diamond Sports, who are a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages and their website, the links to which are in the description below. And of course, I believe they're in the closing credits, but you know, I've been saying that, and I don't know if they are in the closing credits for the Euro show, but there we go. But it's in the description below as well. And of course, today's sponsor, for as usual, for the Andy Campbell Football Show is Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial. Bespoke Financial, who specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover. Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial is giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So please check him out. Give him a call. Do not miss out on an incredible offer. He's looked after Andy for many a year with the various policies, the critical illness, the injury cover. They are top of their field, not just a catchy phrase. They do provide award-winning service, and that's why we are so proud to partner with them. And we thank them for sponsoring the show as ever. But let's get into it, because it's going to be a very interesting show. As ever, live via satellite It is my good buddy, my co-host, the goal collector, former England under-21 striker, Cardiff and Middlesbrough hero, Mr. Andy Campbell. How are you, mate?
Good evening. Just going back on Darren and obviously Bespoke. I might need him tonight about 10 o'clock with a heart problem if the game doesn't go the way I want it to, or it goes like last night, because I know we're going to talk about last night, but yeah, just so much seems to happen in a short space of time. You know what I mean? That game last night was some game of football, by the way. A proper game.
Spot on, mate. And of course, joining us for the last time, for the time being, it is former Wales, Cardiff, Swansea forward, Mr. David Giles. How are you, legend?
I'm good, Si. Good evening, Andy. Nice to see you again, lads.
Great to have you on. I'm looking forward to digging deep on the game, obviously last night, and obviously looking forward to tonight and going through things in a little bit more detail. Obviously, the teams are being announced. Some people might be surprised, some people might not be.
To say about
that. But like I just said there, Si, things seem to happen in a short space of time, and it's just the joys of football. You know what I mean? Everyone's got their opinion on things, good or bad. You know what I mean? But and what I want to put across to everybody else is, it's just people's opinion. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. You know what I mean? Everyone does. And that's a good thing about football. And that's what we miss sometimes about going to the pub after games, that the VAR stops all that controversy. So we try to find that controversy within different reams, basically. So, looking forward to tonight. Can't wait to discuss yesterday and discuss what's going to happen in around, 50 minutes' time.
Yes, indeed, mate. You set me up beautifully there, talking about people looking for controversy. And I'm going to start with So yesterday, was it yesterday or might be this morning? I think it was yesterday. Kasper Schmeichel, Danish goalkeeper, vice captain as well, I believe, was asked by an English journalist an absolute ridiculous question, which shouldn't have been asked. He didn't want to give up. He basically, to paraphrase, said, "Do Denmark want to stop football coming home?" or something like that. Shouldn't have been asked. They should be asking him about, the Denmark teams, Denmark tactics, Denmark's journey. It's not as if they haven't got their own journey, which they've had. But it was asked, and tongue-in-cheek, Kasper Schmeichel replied, "Has it ever been home?" And then the journalist said, "Well, 1966." And then he said, "Oh, well, it was, the World Cup, not the Euros, whatever." So, of course, as social media is, everyone jumps on it. "Oh, he's good enough to play in the English league, blah, 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 blah." And it was like just creating this fake controversy over nothing. Like there was no nastiness in it whatsoever. The question shouldn't have been asked anyway. And nothing that he said was incorrect. So it's like, I just don't get it. It's like trying to create a problem when there's not a problem is a really weird thing to me. I don't understand it at all. And look, well, why not ask him, how much would it mean to you if you could win the Euros like your dad did? That's a better question, surely. What do you think, Andy? I know what you think.
No, listen, that question for me would have been a perfect way to finish the interview or have a question, because that is what the Denmark fans want to hear. That's probably what football fans want to hear. Football fans don't want to hear that question. I've got a different take on it. I don't believe that he should have answered the question. I believe whoever's doing the media for Denmark has let him down massively, because they put him in a situation that in 2 days' time, a week's time, 6 weeks' time, he's going back to Leicester City and he's going back into English football. And regardless how much of a hero he's looked around the world with what's happened during the Euros, I think somebody's hung him out to dry a little bit and giving fans an opportunity to dislike him. And he's not a dislikable character. He's a lovely character. He's a bubbly fella. And I don't know him, by the way. I'm just saying what I think about him. I think he's been let down by people. And yes, he didn't mean it, I don't believe. Yes, he said it with a smile on his face, which he was trying to joke and laugh with the media. But the media's job is there to sell papers or sell stories or sell things. And they've sold it. And he's done the job for them. And, for me, I just think it was an outrageous question. He hasn't helped himself by answering it. He could have just brushed over it, but that's not really his job to brush over it. Someone else should have informed him and told him to do that. I'm disappointed. I think it's a thing that didn't need to happen, and it's a thing which we didn't need to be focused on before this game. You know what I mean? Because Kasper Schmeichel has a bad game. There's focus on it. He has a good game and it knocks England out. Then that interview will come back to haunt him, I believe, a little bit, because he'll get some stick. You look at the stick David Beckham had for getting sent off. People love to cause a problem when there's not a problem there. You know what I mean? And I hope he's not painted as a villain. You know what I mean? And if that means, listen, I want England to win more than anybody in England, I believe. But if Denmark win tonight because they're the best side and they deserve to win, I hope Kasper Schmeichel doesn't become a scapegoat about what he said yesterday.
Yeah, and you know the other thing, Gilo, is like people, not us, but people on social media and football fans generally, they moan about the disconnect between players and fans, and how players always give the same, generic answers about football. When they're asked questions in media and stuff like that, it's like he was having a little bit of a joke and a bit of a laugh. Do we want him to be like a robot and just kind of go, I don't know, whatever, just to give a really boring answer? And also, footballers take a hell of a lot of abuse disguised as banter sometimes. And then as soon as they have a bit back, it seems like everyone wants to have a problem with it. I don't really understand it, but I do agree with you, Andy, in that the Danish PR person probably could have done him a favour and said, can we stick to talking about Denmark or something? Just takes any issue out of it whatsoever. But I don't know. What's your take on it, Gilo?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Andy. It's a question that should have never been asked. But again, this is how this is the times we live in. To be honest, in my day, journalists wouldn't have never asked a question like that, or put a player from another country on the spot like that. Yes, the Danish press guy with him should have stopped the interview and said, "Listen, I'm sorry, but we're not having that. We're not even going to go down that road. You're trying to, like you said, hang him out to dry." I think it was going back a few weeks. Wales played when they got beat by Denmark, and some guy asked Gareth Bale, are you going to still be playing for Wales? Are you thinking about it? And fair dues to Bale, he said and walked away. He walked off.
It wasn't the right time to ask that question, was it?
No, of course it's not. Of course it's not. So, and yes, unfortunately now, because of the answer he gave, Kasper Schmeichel, you will get some people that will target him, for saying that. But my God, he's got a massive game on in front of him tonight. He's representing his country. It's a position, really. I don't think anyhow the players should be doing that before they. I know fans like to hear reaction and they want to hear what their take is on it or whatever. But honestly, I think there's certain questions that the journalists should stick to, football related questions, decent questions. Not, as you say, do you intend stopping football coming home? It's a pathetic question, really. I don't know who the guy is, but
it's a ridiculous question. Yeah. And do you know what it is? It's a question which is designed to try and bait him into saying something like that.
Yeah,
then you can put up all the clickbait headlines and stuff like that. So I guess from that point of view, that journalist's boss is probably quite happy because he baited him into the answer. Yeah. But I just think that Kasper Schmeichel shouldn't be criticised for answering it, I guess, is my point. At the end of the day, he was asked a question. He answered it honestly. He didn't say anything offensive. I thought it was quite funny. Move on. And like I said, that question which I said about Peter Schmeichel, to me, is a far more interesting question. Brings up you could have created a better conversation talking about, how his dad won it and how let's face it, no matter how good and how much he achieves in football, he must always feel like he's in his dad's shadow just because of who his dad was. Like, that's a far more interesting conversation to me as a football fan than trying to bait him by saying, do you want to stop football coming home? It's a stupid question. And you could ask, and I think it was Gavin said you could ask about Christian Eriksen. You could ask so many better questions. The Denmark side have got like 3 youngsters, sort of 25 and under, who are taking European football by storm in this tournament. Let's talk about that. I just don't get it.
It's a bigger achievement, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? What Peter Schmeichel and Kasper Schmeichel will do if they both win the Euros is a huge achievement, which, to my knowledge, I don't think it's ever happened or ever probably going to happen with father and son winning it. You know what I mean? And with winning it with the kind of players what are around now, you're on about the Cristiano Ronaldos, you're on about the England team, you're on about the Italy team. If Denmark go on to win this tournament, it will be an absolutely momentous achievement with what happened at the start of the tournament, with losing the first 2 games as well. So for me, listen, I don't blame him. I'm not bitter against him. I just think it could have been massively avoided and should have been avoided. And I think there's loads of people who are to blame for that, and not Kasper himself, because if he's told to answer questions.
No. Yeah, if you're told to answer questions, you answer questions. It's a strange one. I don't know. Right. Of course, we're going to spend the latter half of this show talking England, Denmark. Sorry, Andy, you froze at me. Go on.
Answer the question.
Die. Frozen. So, yeah. So we're going to talk the latter half. We're going to focus on the England-Denmark match. But I do want to talk last night's semi-final because what a game of football. I was watching it, and when it was still 0-0, I was thinking, Gido, this might possibly be the best 0-0 I've ever witnessed. And it wasn't long after that Italy scored. But it was, what a game of football that was. I thought Italy were outstanding. However, I thought for the first time, Denmark were able to get at their defence a bit in the sort of the middle of the second half. And it was the first time they looked a bit ropey.
Spain, you said Denmark side, Spain.
Sorry, Spain.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like Andy said, it went at the start of the show, a fabulous game. You know, that's a type of, if we can get games like that, then a lot more people would be more tuned in and glued to watching football. Sadly to say that there's a lot of games you see on the TV now that I turn off after 20 minutes because you know it's going to be a boarding 0-0 or someone may score in the 90 plus 4 minutes, of added time. But last night's game, yeah, you mentioned Italy. Italy were brilliant. But for me, Spain have got it back. A lot of people wrote them off the start of this competition, saying, "Oh, Spain have had it. They're in turmoil. They're trying different things." Great character from Spain to go a goal down and come back in the way they did. Have to say the penalty taking was awful. But
yeah, well, their penalties weren't very good in the Swiss game, but they got away with it because Switzerland's penalties were worse. The one thing I thought Spain got wrong was taking off Koke when they did, because I thought he was the player who was unlocking the Italian defence a lot. And I know they went on to score after that, but I felt like he was the one player I would have kept on, because just before he got taken off, the Alathabel, who missed a header from when Koke just sort of curled a little dinked ball over the defence, and he just had to get any part of his head on the ball and it would have been a goal. And he just completely missed it. But that was my one, if I was a Spanish fan, I think would have been my one gripe, because I thought Koke was outstanding. I thought he has had an absolutely outstanding tournament. Andy, are you with us now? Yeah, you can hear us. Cool. What did you think of Koke's tournament, mate? Because I was really impressed with how he played yesterday, and I was surprised he was taken off.
He's gone again, is he?
Not sure. It's difficult to say. He could just be being super still.
I can hear you.
Go on.
I thought Spain set up beautifully. I thought the tactics from Enrique were absolutely spot on. The way that they got at the Italians, the way that they kept the ball, the way that they pressed, the way that they pressed the two fullbacks, who I thought would have struggled, by the way, without Spinazzola. And I thought Emerson was excellent. I thought it was like for like. So I'm not going to make him as a scapegoat. I thought he was excellent. I thought he tired towards the end, so that's why he came off. One thing that Spain massively missed for me was a Fernando Torres or a David Villa type centre forward, because they just really struggle in that final third. A real goal scorer who can sniff a goal out. I thought Morata did well, but he just lacks confidence sometimes in the box. He just makes a final choice and he makes it wrong. I thought his goal was fantastic. He took his goal really well, but there was a time before that he took another touch, and he ended up getting a corner. And I just thought they were taking a few shots outside the box, where Spain are really on their game when they get the ball in the box. Tight little 1-2s or tight little balls around the corner to get your shots away. And Fernando Torres has made a career of it. David Villa's done the same. And for me, they just missed that link centre forward. They've gone the physical route. The way they kept the ball was absolutely brilliant. The way they defended was absolutely brilliant. I can't fault the performance. I can't fault anything about it, apart from the penalties. And even the penalties, listen, everyone's brave enough to go and take one. And if it goes to penalties tonight, whoever's brave to go and take one, you've got to give him credit because it's a semi-final of a European competition. You know what I mean? He's got to take some guts and some desire to want to take a penalty and to be scared not to miss and to put your name on the line. You know what I mean? Everyone laughs and jokes about Gareth Southgate missing it, but listen, there's players last night, and Spain have not had a great record this tournament on penalties, but I thought Enrique got everything right, apart from his dress sense again, by the way. His dress sense. He looked like he was going out with his mates to the pub. It was just, he had his trainers on, his jeans on, but do you know what? Tactically, positionally, selection, everything about what he did on his team, for his team, he was absolutely monumental. He was absolutely brilliant, and I can't fault everything he did and his players. And the Spanish press, ex-players should be so proud of what their team has achieved, because if they can take that team to the next level, to the World Cup, to the next Euros, with a little bit of tweaking and a few players maybe added and a bit of confidence, they'll win something again, and they'll keep winning it because they're that good.
You're right. They need a striker. They need a finisher. I wonder if they've got a young Spanish striker anywhere across Europe hiding away, which maybe hasn't quite made his name yet. But they created a lot of chances, Gilo, last night, and they just didn't take them. And unfortunately, Lathabal, who has had a great tournament, was guilty of missing two, which at this level you've got to take those chances in the big games, particularly. And I felt sorry for him because he's another one who's had a tremendous tournament, and you don't like to see those people who've had that great tournament kind of finish on a negative where you know those chances, particularly the header. The second one is going to really play on his mind. Like, he's going to replay that for a couple of weeks back over how he's missed it. And then he obviously got taken off. Who else impressed you from the Spanish team in this tournament, Dave?
To be honest, sorry, Saya, but with names and Spanish, I'm not particularly good. So probably with numbers. Listen, just going back to the Spain thing again, what Andy said. Like I said, a lot of people had wrote them off, didn't give them any chance. We saw how good they are. And do you know what? Nobody has done that to Italy in this tournament up to now.
No.
Nobody. No. They did things against Italy, which people think, my God, are Spain that good, or are Italy not as good as we all think? So whoever does play Italy in the final, they'll look at that match again with Spain and see where the Spanish got at them. But again, like Andy said, the modern game now, it's of keeping the ball, of retaining the ball. Spain were absolutely phenomenal. They're quick into passing. They're moving the ball around, one touch, two touch. That is as good as anyone in the world. And I totally agree with what Andy says. I don't know whether Emilio Butragueño has got any children that may be coming up old enough to play, or if they can find another Raul. There was another striker, which they've always had. Torres, people like that, David, they've always had that one player, but he's not there at the moment. But when they get that player, I totally agree with Andy. The Spanish will win things again, and they're great to watch. Spain. I always enjoy watching Spain play.
Spot on.
I think, sorry to butt in. We've been quite fortunate, haven't we, to be growing up and watching the Busquets and the Xavis and the Iniestas, because they've done it for club and they've done it for country. But I tell you what, since Xavi and Iniesta have left and gone to obviously retired, Busquets has just held that position. You know what I mean? He's looked after the young players. I thought Pedri was excellent.
Do you think he's matured as well, mate? The way you don't see the petulance from him, the diving around and holding his face and stuff.
I think he has to, but because he's full of younger players as well. He's full of younger players at Barcelona. He's full of younger players in the Spanish squad. And I think the future is bright. I think they've got an opportunity to really excel and be.
Give him a second. See if he comes back. There he is.
There he is. Come on, Ant.
I'm back now. Yeah. No, I think I don't know what you heard and what you didn't hear. I think the project has got to be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 year project for Spain, and I believe that the future is massively bright. Olmo, I thought was fantastic. He had a lot of young long range shots yesterday, but a lot of them didn't hit the target. There we go. But even defensively, Azpilicueta, you know what I mean? He's not renowned for his pace. I thought he was very good yesterday. I thought Jordi Alba Everyone says his legs were going. I thought he was excellent. Laporte doesn't play week in, week out for Man City, but I thought he was very good.
But he's had a
Garcia as
good
well.
tournament.
I thought, probably the biggest surprise for me was a goalkeeper. I didn't expect him to play. The games that he's played, I thought they would have gone for a little bit more experience, but you play who you think's your best goalkeeper, and for me, I don't think he let his country down. He saved a penalty,
I think
so he deserves his opportunity.
Yeah, with that keeper, I think he responded so well to that mistake that he made in, I think it was against Hungary, maybe, where the back pass from like 30 yards.
Yeah.
Like, that's a massive mistake on a big stage. And to then go and come back and save penalties, and he played pretty well throughout the tournament. But yeah, they got a very young side, bar one or two. I was very impressed with them. I thought, like I said, I thought Koke was phenomenal all tournament. I thought Olmo has had a great tournament. He's really impressed. Pedri, Busquets. But one who really kind of stuck out for me at the back was Laporte, just because I've never really thought he looked that good for Man City. Like, he looks all right in some games, but I just thought he looked so assured in this tournament. Physical when he needed to be. Really impressive. On the Italian front, so many players that you can mention, but for me, their midfield three is what has placed them apart from everyone else in the tournament so far. Both defensively, they protect the defense, but they counter-attack so quickly, and they counter-attack quite direct. Like, sometimes you'll see Donnarumma ping a ball from the goal area to one of the strikers to their feet quite firmly, and then they play off that, Gilo, which is not something you always see from, the likes of Italy and Spain and these European sides. They tend to build from the back. And of course, Italy do build from the back, but they have the attributes and they have the confidence to go a bit more direct in the way they attack as well. But the midfield three is what really sold it to me. But Gilo, I wanted to get your take on, like you said about Spain are the first team who really created a number of chances against Italy. And interestingly, Denmark and England both set up quite similar to the way Spain do. So if you were looking at that last night from their point of view, you must have thought, the one thing with the Italian central defence is that, of course, they're not getting any younger. So against pace, they're going to struggle. But if you were a Danish or an English fan, would you be encouraged by how Spain not just played, but opened up Italy as well?
Well, yes, you would be. But again, you have to give great credit to the Spanish players. The Italian players, yes, they are aging a bit at the back, but they're still fabulous players. But that's the game. Listen, this is what me and Andy played. We played at a high level. That is the game. On the day, good players can undo other good players. And it's just who gets it right on the day, who's brave enough to have a go at you, have a nibble at you, take you on. It's all about being brave. And Spain were brave in doing that. All credit to Italy. They stuck together. They rode the storm a little bit at times. But, like you said, that's a great ploy for them, where they get the ball forward. They go from back to front quickly, and then they all get up supporting, very fit to do that. And they play off the guy that the centre forward that's got the ball. So it's very, very interesting. Listen, England and Denmark, I'm not going to forget them, can both undo Italy as well. They got players capable of doing that. But the Italians also have got quality players. We haven't seen England be undue like that yet. No. I think it's all credit to their back four. The two centre-backs have been outstanding. Stones and Maguire. The keeper's been very, very good. And again, the two full-backs. So it's I said earlier on, Si, before you came in, I don't see it going to penalties tonight. I think England will win in the 90 minutes. It'll be a 1-0 or a 2-1. It'll be tight, which you expect in semi-finals. And then obviously you move on to the final, and it really is a toss of a coin, because whichever team gets there tonight, Denmark or England, they're both quality teams, and they'll be playing a quality team. So it all makes for hopefully a great game tonight, what we saw last night, and a brilliant final. And I haven't been excited about competition football like that for quite a while. But with the
Indeed,
quality, with the quality we've got left in, I can't wait to see it tonight. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, 100%. Andy, I wanted to get your take on this comment from Rob Lay. He says England will win. They'll go on to beat Italy in the final. England, to me, are the most in-tune team. The reason they will win it is everyone plays their part and they don't have to rely on individual players. They are truly a team. So what do you make of that? And is that different to Italy or Denmark?
I think that's the confidence that Gareth instilled in the supporters, in the players. I think that's first and foremost. I'll put that comment in.
He's going to come back now. Here he is.
I knew he was going to come back as soon as we started speaking.
Drive me mad.
There you are. I can hear you.
Come on, Anne. Come home.
I'm back now, I think.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah.
You are, mate. Don't worry about it. This can't be helped.
Listen, no, I think I don't think you can write the Italians off. Just like Giles said, listen, you've got very talented individual players. You've got your Immobiles, your Chiesa, your Insigne. Listen, I think England have got a better group around them, but I don't think those players, the England players, are as good as those players individually and collectively. You know what I mean? I think collectively we've probably got a better group. We spoke earlier on about the back four of Italy. You can only, and Jallo knows, you can only work on pace if there's pace behind, if there's space for those players to play behind. If Italy plays deep as they did yesterday, there's no space in behind. So players have to play a different way. You've got to shoot from distance, or you've got to get round the back, and from the width. And that's where England do it really well. They get full-backs bombing on, and that's where they're going to get joy tonight. You know what I mean? Because if Denmark set up with the 5 like they look like they're going to, or the 3, whichever way you look at it, I think it'll play in England's hands a little bit because the full-backs can bomb on and overlap. And then I think that's where England might get a little bit of joy against Italy as well if they get there. You know what I mean? I think I agree with Gilo. I think what Spain did yesterday, I think it's giving each nation an opportunity and a chance to show that Italy have got weaknesses. You know what I mean? They showed those weaknesses yesterday, and they're not a formidable opponent. So you've got a little bit of a glimmer of hope. You know what I mean? I still believe they're the best team in the tournament. They looked a little bit tired yesterday. They picked up a couple more injuries yesterday. So does that even things out a little bit? I do agree with you. I like to flip of a coin, but like it is tonight. You know what I mean? I'm an England fan. I want England to win, but I do believe it is a flip of a coin. It's a semi-final of the European competition. You know what I mean? That every 22 player on that pitch is a match winner. Every single one of them. And one of those players in that 22 or 30, depending on how many subs are brought on tonight, one of those players is going to be a hero tonight, either in England or in Denmark. And hopefully he's wearing white. If England are wearing white, by the way, and I'm not sure. But listen, I just hope it's as good a game as it was yesterday because there were so many good players turned up to the party last night. And tonight, I hope players don't cancel each other out and just ruin a game of football because England have been good when they've played their game. And against Scotland, they were bad because they got stopped playing. So if they do get stopped playing tonight, they've got to find a way around it. They can't just match what the opponents do. You've got to worry about yourself and play your own game. You know what I mean? Jarl will tell you, you know what I mean, that teams try to upset you. And if Denmark are going to upset England tonight, go for it. Not bothered. But they've got to bring the big game to the table. They've got to be ready for it. And if Denmark come at England and attack England, you've got to be ready for that as well. Because I expect Denmark to want to come and win because it's a semi-final, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for these footballers.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because we said on Monday that we thought the Denmark-England game was going to be like a Premier League game, and the game last night might be a bit more of a tactical affair. And last night was like a Premier League game in many ways, like it was end to end for a lot of the game. I just hope that doesn't mean that tonight is going to be a really tactical, dull, tight 0-0. I don't think it will be. I think there's too many good players on show. So moving on to Denmark, England. First and foremost, I want to talk a bit about Denmark. Look, number one, we all know what happened with Christian Eriksen. For them to rebound from that and lose 2 group games, still get through the group stage, and then perform at the level they've performed at has been nothing short of phenomenal. And I think the credit that those human beings deserve for being able to mentally strong enough to not only get through it and play, but to play at the level they've played at is tremendous. But and they've got a really young side as well, outside of the sort of the back 3 or 4. There's 3 players which I want to highlight, which for me, or 4 technically, but 3 mainly, who I think if they perform, they're going to cause England real problems. So I'll be interested in your take on this, both you guys. And that's Holberg, who plays alongside Delaney in the middle. And then up front, you've got Dolberg and Damsgaard. Damsgaard, particularly for a young man, has been sensational, scored a couple of sensational goals. And I just think if those 3 combine, they could cause England a lot of problems, because they rotate, but they don't rotate like right, centre, left, swap wings. They rotate in and out of that number 10 position, that really awkward position between the holding midfielder and the defenders. And I just think Declan Rice and Phillips have to have the game of their lives if those players are on form and play like they have so far this tournament, because I think they're good enough to deal with it. I just think the position that these boys take up makes it very difficult for players to pick them up. And that's why they've scored so many goals where they've dropped off the defence and then scored from edge of the box, 25 yards out. And then the wide player, Marley, as well, has had a very good tournament. But Andy, obviously Damsgaard scored a couple of phenomenal goals. But why is that number 10 position, or the position just behind that holding midfielder, so difficult for everyone to pick up?
It's difficult because if they're clever enough, they're not being marked by anybody, because they're too far away from the defensive midfielder, they're too far away from the centre half, so they can get in a position half turn, get on the ball and drive at defenders. So it makes them a really dangerous player, because does the defender come out and leave a big hole behind for someone else to run into, or do the centre midfielder go chasing around and ruin their position, so then they can get picked off and play around you? I mean, it's a game of chess, like last night was. You know what I mean? I believe you just spoke there about if players have to have the game of their life. You know what I mean? If England players have the game of their life, it's going to be a walk in the park. You know what I mean? Because because that's how good England can be on the day.
Better team, haven't they?
But likewise, if listen, Højbjerg, he's had a good season at Spurs. He's had, you know what I mean? He hasn't been. He probably hasn't been a standout player, but I think he's had a great team. For me, it's Denmark's spine of the team. You've got your 2 centre forwards, you've got your Højbjerg, you've got your Krejcar, and you've got your Peter Schmeichel. Kasper Schmeichel. And for me, if England can exploit 3 of those areas, they're going to win the game. You know what I mean? So if they keep a clean sheet, I believe they won the game. If they can exploit the centre half, then they're going to score. And if they score, I believe they're going to win the game. And if you can dominate the midfield, you're going to have the ball all the game. You know what I mean? So England have got to find those areas and dominate those areas, because the way that Denmark play with the wing backs, it's a big ask for a wing back. Giles will tell you, it's probably the worst position in football. You know what I mean? I'll be honest. I played there a couple of times, and it's brutal. You know what I mean? You go forward, you go back. You've got no energy to go forward. You've got to get back. You don't have a choice. And when you're playing against a winger who's going to keep you back, and then when you've got Kyle Walker bombing on, you've got Luke Shaw bombing on, it must be a thankful task to play against those kind of players. But if they nullify England in those areas, then Denmark will win the game. You know what I mean? So that I know how important England's width is and England's wide players. If England's width and wide and fullbacks aren't on the game of their lives as well, England won't win the game. You know what I mean? Look at the Scotland game. Kyle Walker had his worst game on the ball for England in that game. England didn't score. They didn't create anything, and that's why we struggled. You know what I mean? Because we didn't get the balls to the wingers. We didn't overlap. We didn't put crosses in. We didn't look like we were going to score. You change your game. It's chalk and cheese. You do it against Ukraine. You look like you're going to score every time you get the ball. And listen, it's going to be great. It's going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we just named half of the players who are going to be playing. And I hope every single one of those players brings their A game to the table, because then we've got goals galore, and it's going to be like a boxing game like it was yesterday. You know what I mean? It's going to be like a boxing match where you punch me, I'll punch you harder. I'll punch you even harder. I'll punch you even harder. And whoever gets knocked down first, can they get up and fight again? And if they can't, then that's where you're going to lose. And it's just about it's going to go down to subs. It's going to go right down to injury time. England have been really lucky in terms of nothing's gone to VAR yet, or penalty or anything. There's something. I do believe there's a twist, and that might be for them, against them. I'm not sure, but England have managed to not be involved in VAR like a lot of other countries have in small moments, big moments. But let's see if it happens today. I hope not.
I want to talk to you, Andy, in a minute about the starting lineup, because I've got a take which I want to get your opinion on. But first of all, Gilo, I wanted to just quickly talk to you or get your opinion on England. haven't conceded a goal, which of course is an awesome achievement. But a lot could depend on if Denmark do get a goal in that first half, is how they react to that, isn't it? Because that will be a new twist on the tournament, if you like. It will be a different type of pressure. And let's be honest, there's a hell of a lot more pressure on England than there is Denmark from just a general pressure. So if they do concede a goal, they're going to need the same mental strength that Denmark, that Italy, that Spain, all those guys have shown over the throughout the tournament. And some people will say England haven't really been tested, but you can only beat what's in front of you.
Yeah.
But if they do concede, Gilo, that's when they maybe need to. That's going to be the what's the word I'm looking for? That's going to be the test, I guess, isn't it? If they do concede a goal in the first half.
Yeah, without a doubt, Si. And listen, whether it's tonight or they make the final or they don't make the final, I think England will concede. They're playing quality sides now. And these sides they're playing against are capable of scoring goals. That like we've just mentioned, Denmark scored some great goals. If they make the final, Italy have scored some great goals. But England they've got goal scorers in their team. So I see England, yes, possibly will concede, but they've got enough ammo then to go out and score two up the other end. There's going to be times tonight in this game, when you're playing in big matches or you watch big games, being an ex-player, same as Andy, when you're on that field, there comes a time in games where you have to take a risk. You have to gamble. Like he just mentioned there, that's why England are so good. These wing-backs, it is a thankless task. They run 60 yards to try and get the ball from a midfield player and it breaks down. They got to get 60 yards back then. Their engines are phenomenal to keep doing that and keep going. And the one time they don't go, a midfield player look over and say, well, where are you? I'm looking over there for you. So this is where they are so good. Denmark, obviously, they'll have their ideas and take on it, and they'll try and stop that or counteract it. So this is where I see it being a great game. It may be a case tonight. You mentioned about the number 10. One of our back lads, one of our two centre-backs, he has to go in, push in. So then you're thinking, oh, we're man for man now. But sometimes you've got to do that. You back yourself as a player against the guy you're playing against. And that's what wins games. That's what makes these special players, better players stand out. So I feel it will be a great game. I can see England winning. And earlier on, seeing the news, it was fabulous to see Wembley Way packed to the rafters. Yeah, the atmosphere in Wembley, and I've been to Wembley. I'm lucky enough to play there a couple of times for Wales, but I've also been there to watch finals. When Wembley is bouncing, certainly for England, it's going to be, that's another problem the Danes are going to have to deal with. And it makes for a great game. It really does, lads.
100%. For me, England will score in 90 minutes. So then it comes down to if Denmark can break down England. What I've seen of Harry Maguire in this tournament and Luke Shaw in this tournament, that side of the English defence has been phenomenal. John Stones, touch wood, has had a fantastic tournament.
Yeah.
Jordan Pickford's made one error, which me and Andy were talking about the other day, but it didn't cost him.
No.
He needs to make sure that was his error for the tournament, because there's a couple of players in that England backline, Kyle Walker, John Stones, Pickford, for their clubs, they have been liable to a little bit of an error here and there, lack of concentration. Tonight's not the night for that. You've got to be bang on, concentrating 90 minutes. Right, and to finish us off, mate, I want to talk about the starting lineup a little bit and get your take on it, but also my opinion. So my opinion of it is, first of all, the starting lineup is basically the same, other than Saka is in for Sancho.
Yep.
And Calvert-Lewin is not on the bench at all. So my take, and it's only a small sort of, not a gripe, but I think it's Gareth Southgate's first gamble of the tournament. I think dropping Sancho is a risk after the way he played, because if you bring on Sancho now and his nose is out of joint in any way for being dropped, you might not get the same out of him for 15 minutes that you would have previously. Whereas if you'd brought Saka on from the bench, he's coming back from an injury, so he's going to be bang at it and really raring to go. So I think that is a gamble because Sancho was so good against the Ukraine as well. I do understand that also, though, the Saka has been fantastic. We've also discussed Saka tends to only play between 45 minutes and an hour before he gets substituted off. But it's a gamble, nonetheless, even if it's just a small one, because I do think Saka could cause a lot of problems for Denmark. And then the other one is if Harry Kane, and again, touch wood that it doesn't happen, if he gets injured in that first 5 or 10 minutes, England haven't got a like-for-like number 9 who will hold the ball up and play off. Because, yes, they've got Rashford and Foden and Sancho who can all play, right, centre, left, middle, whatever. But they haven't got that traditional number 9 on the bench. So, again, that's a little bit of a risk. What they have got is a team full of penalty takers. But what do you think of what I just said, Anne?
Listen, I think like we said at the start, I think football's great because it's full of opinions. It's absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't have guessed his team tonight. I'll be honest. It wasn't the team that I would have picked. I even thought he was going to go match them like for like and go back to wing backs like he did against Germany and go and play 3 at the back and put the wing backs against the wing backs and flood the midfield and maybe he's put somebody up next to Harry or just behind Harry. But listen, you can't fault Gareth's tactics during the tournament. He's gone for a team which he's tried, he's tested, it's worked. He knows exactly what time his subs are going to be made, who's going to do it, who's coming on, who's going off. And I just, I think he's got it right. Listen, he's got it right as long as Harry Kane plays well. You know what I mean? Harry Kane is 2 goals away from getting the golden boot. You know what I mean? Harry Kane scores tonight, he's got a great chance to get a golden boot. If he scores 2 tonight, he's going to get it himself. You know what I mean? What a carrot for Harry Kane. He's had a wonderful season for Spurs, assists and golden boot. To get the golden boot in the Euros, you know what I mean? He's got to get a goal tonight. He's got to score again in the final if you get there. Or he's got to score 2 tonight. You know what I mean? So it's individuals. He's got an opportunity after having an iffy tournament. I won't say a poor one because he's picked up the last couple of games. But for me, listen, Gareth's got his tactics right. If they lose, we lose. And we lose to a better side because it's not about the team what he's picked because that team's won games. It's the back 4 or the back 5, the way you look at it with the keeper. It hasn't let a goal in. So if we get beat 1-0 tonight or 2-1, we've kept 5-6 clean sheets in the tournament. You get beat by the better side. It is what it is. I'll be heartbroken because I'm a proud Englishman, but I won't be losing any sleep over it. I'll just be gutted, and I probably won't watch the final. I'll spit my dummy right out. However, I think he's stupid to not back the manager because he's made so many right calls so far in the tournament. And
he's got everything right, hasn't he?
And I think, listen, if I was picking an England team now, I want to see, I'd probably have 7 centre forwards, 6 behind, and 2 centre halves, and I want him to go for it because we've got that much talent. But he thinks of the team first and foremost. He thinks of the spine of the team, how solid he wants them from back to front, and we've got enough quality to win this game. But so have they. So it's going to be a phenomenal night.
Gilo, you mentioned on Monday show that England have got and Southgate has created a great togetherness similar to Wales in 2016, and I think that enables him to change the starting lineup and drop players because I think, certainly the way it seems from the outside, I think that they all just want to win. They all just believe that they've got a job to do, and he picks who he thinks is going to do the job on that day, and they're all happy to slot in and out. And, if it's not my turn today, it's not my turn. However, of course, they're all multi-million-pound footballers who have all got an ego, and I'd be very surprised if, the likes of Jack Grealish and Phil Foden are particularly pleased about the amount of minutes they've got, and Rashford and some others. But you can't, whilst you're winning, it's not a problem, is it? Because the players don't care. They just want to win the tournament. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be a 3 or 4-0. I think it's going to be tight. Finishes off, Gilo. Give us your prediction for England versus Denmark.
Okay, just quickly say, again, with what Andy said, Gareth Southgate did know a great deal about him. As we know, he's the England manager, but because you're watching the games and little things I see him doing, I think I mentioned the last time I was on that he put his arm around Jack Grealish, spent two couple of minutes with him, telling him why he didn't get on, his reasons for that. Now Jack Grealish is a top quality player, arguably would get in most teams in the Euros. But Gareth, I also think, is top quality with his man management. I think these lads have got the feeling that they'd rather be in the England squad, sat on the bench, than not in this squad at all. Because this England team now, or the squad of players, is that good. You don't want to be falling out with the manager and not playing. So, and Gareth Southgate has created that. And let's not forget the backroom staff as well. They play a big part.
Graham Jones, former guest of our show.
Totally.
Yep.
So they're all doing their bits. But listen, tonight's game. First and foremost, I'm hoping England win. I'm a Welshman, but I'll always support England in a major competition. Like I said many a times, I watched them win it in '66, and that was absolutely fantastic. It's so exciting, and I'd love England to do it again because I think it's good. We're British. We're Britain. We're part of an island. England's part of our union. Along with Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. So. I want all our teams to do well. Obviously, if Wales were playing England, I want Wales to win. But I want England to win. But again, they're good enough. They've got the ability, the players. I definitely think that he will. Like we said, he started with Sacco, but I see Jack Grealish coming on somewhere in this game. And I also think that Sancho will come on as well. So we've got. England have got some fabulous players to come off the bench. But yes, Gareth Southgate, tactically, know-how, man management. This kid's got it all, and he's got a great future. And England really, I think, even up to now, before tonight's game, they need to tie him down because he's that good a manager.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, well, I know Andy wants to finish now because he wants to watch the national anthem. Answer to John Bywell's question. He says, "Si, do you want England to win?" Yes, I do.
Well done,
Andy.
Si was a bit sick in his mouth then when Gilo was saying all that stuff.
Andy, what's the score going to be? Go.
England, all the way.
Okay, there we go. I think it's going to be 2-2, and then it's going to go to penalties.
Listen,
I think England will win on penalties because their team, from the starting 11 all the way through the bench, is full of players who take the penalties for their clubs, and I believe they've got so many players who've been in that position at the top level that they will coast it.
Si, I'll do a promise to everybody. If it goes to penalties tonight, I will video penalties of me watching the penalties. Let's do an Insta live of the penalty shootout.
Insta live.
Heartbreaking.
Insta live of the penalty shootout. Someone did say, "Can we do an Insta live at halftime of the England-Denmark game?"
Oh, let's see.
But we'll see. Andy could be crying by then, one way or the other. Good night. God bless. Gilo, thank you so much for joining us over these last couple of weeks. Legend.
Yeah. Come on, England.
Hey, thank you, lads. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure. And, again, Andy, good luck tonight with England, mate. Keep your nerve, I'm sure. Yeah, just think you.
I can't. I've got nothing to lose. I've got no hair. I've got nothing to lose. So I just get more grey.
Yeah.
And I've got one very important thing to say to finish off, and that is buy these brand new Ace Podcast Nation t-shirts. Dare to be different. They're in the shop. They're nice, and they're really nice, like this green one. But there's lots of stuff. There's Andy Campbell stuff, Andy Campbell football stuff. There's hoodies. There's all sorts of stuff. Have a little look. Links on the Facebook page. Nice one, guys. See you Friday, 7 o'clock.
We are the ones who mark a new beginning.